Hey everyone, here we have a nice clean chart. I just want to show you, eventually, one day your charts will look like this. But I wanted to do another introductory video to beginner type stuff. I'm trying to do more and more of that. I really like to bring new people into the space and help people who are really noobs all the way at the beginning, just starting their investment career, and help people who are advanced traders too. So I'm going to really kind of reach everybody across the spectrum, but for right now, all the new Vader University content I'm working on is the more beginner-centric stuff. I'd like to get that stuff out there first. I could share that portions of it publicly as opposed to only within the premium group. But I feel like it's great because some people who are more advanced traders might have overlooked some of these minor things. So starting from the beginning and looking at things with a fresh set of eyes, things you haven't really thought about or considered for a while, simple things like how to use TradingView. You might pick up on things you never even knew about that you don't think of. So hopefully this can be helpful to the more experienced people as well as the new traders. So I wanted to do a deeper dive into the stuff we discussed in the other intro to crypto video, the first Vader University video I did recently. We went over what websites to use. If you're just getting into this space, what should you be familiar with? And I talked about Binance and TradingView and CoinMarketCap, things like that. Well, in this video, I just wanted to do a quick review of TradingView. From the ground up, just the basics, just to give people who aren't experienced an idea of what they can do with it, can't do with it, and how to use it. Eventually, we're going to get into doing a lot of TA stuff, and that's more advanced. That's down the road. For now, I'm going to focus on how to actually use the website and what the various things mean, and then relatively soon, I'm going to be doing a video about reading charts. Even though you might not have the skills to do technical analysis, everybody has the skills to read the work that we analysts are doing. So if I provide a chart, you'll be able to look at it, understand what I'm saying, and reach conclusions based on the analysis I'm providing, and that'll help guide you when you're trying to figure out what to learn or how to guide your decision process with respect to your strategies. So, let me look at my notes here. All right. Well, this is TradingView. This is where people do all this charting, and it's not just for crypto, obviously. Crypto came much later. Originally, it was for traditional assets, stocks, bonds, commodities, Forex, and the like. And analysts use this software to look at technical data, the price action, and volume on the markets and different exchanges, things like that. And all that data can be used to develop a predictive model. I often use the analogy of weathermen and NOAA, NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, which has models that they've gathered from all weather scientists around the world, and they run all of these models when they see a hurricane forming, and that tells them where the hurricane's going to go, how strong it's going to be, and they're using data that they've built up over time to develop a predictive model. So in 1920, they didn't have a lot of data, so they would come up with a model that said, hey, this hurricane's going to go here, and they were wrong most of the time. Over time, they had more and more data. Now, there have been so many thousands of hurricanes that they know if the temperature on the ground is X, the temperature on the air is Y, the rainfall rate is Z. Using all of that data, they know there's a high probability that the hurricane's going to go in this direction and get this strong, and winds are going to be this fast. Same exact thing with TA on crypto or any traditional assets, whatever it is you're trading and modeling. We're going to use the data we have at our disposal, the prices things have been at, what orders have been on the order book, what people were willing to pay, what people were willing to sell their coins for, and we're going to use all that data to try to develop a predictive model. That's what analysts do. We're trying to predict what's going to happen in the future by looking at past data. So let's go over how to use TradingView and exactly what it's doing. Again, it's just putting that data on the screen and giving it to us in a visual format so we can manipulate it and apply those different theories and strategies and models and things like that. So this is the area where you see the chart. That's obviously simple enough. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up a different chart that I haven't done a lot of work on. Actually, I'm going to completely clear it off. I already started, but let me finish. This is a different BTC chart. This is Bitcoin from Bitstamp. Now this also is a good opportunity. Let me clear this off. These are all my indicators up here. I'm going to get rid of those so we can start from scratch. Let's delete all those. Now it's pretty much empty. Let me just mention, because this is a good time to mention this, I'm going to get into this more in other videos. We're going to come back to this stuff. And these videos we're doing now, they're going to be a great asset later. So as you learn about what more of these things mean, in 2, 3, 4, 8 weeks from now, you might learn exactly what this particular term actually means and what it's referring to. So if you come back to this video, it'll make more sense to you at a later date. So you might not pick up and you might not understand everything that I go over now, but you will in time, and then you'll be able to come back and rewatch this, and then it'll stick out and say, oh, I actually know what he's referring to. So this is an example of that, where I'm going to kind of skip ahead and I'm going to briefly talk about how markets work, and that'll help you understand why it shows up the way it shows up. So with markets, when you're looking at this, and we're looking at, this is the BTC, Bitcoin, and US dollar chart from the Bitstamp exchange. On the Bitstamp exchange, there are a bunch of people who use that exchange that are selling Bitcoin. A bunch of people who use that exchange are buying Bitcoin. So when they want to use their Bitcoin and sell it for dollars, they're going to go to the Bitcoin dollar pair on the Bitstamp exchange that they use. They can also go to the Bitcoin and dollar pair on the Coinbase exchange. They can go to the Bitcoin and USDT pair on the Binance exchange. But if they have their coins on Bitstamp, and that's where they do their trading, they're going to go to the Bitstamp exchange, go to the Bitcoin US dollar pairing. There's also a Bitcoin ETH pairing. So you can use your Bitcoin to buy Ethereum and use your Ethereum to buy Bitcoin. When you're using one of those other exchanges or one of those other pairings, even if it's on the same exchange, the Bitstamp exchange, you would use a completely different chart. So if you go on here and you look at, let me show you, if you go up over here where my watch list is, we'll go over that in a second. If I type in BTC and I'm looking for BTC compared with euros, EUR. So this is where we're looking at the price of Bitcoin in euros. Using these pairings, you would use your euros to buy BTC or sell your BTC into euros. So if you look at this, you'll notice all these different exchanges show up. This is a crypto unit, and it's on Bitstamp exchange. Crypto on the Coinbase exchange. Crypto on the Bitfinex exchange. So there's different pairings and different charts for every individual exchange. You can go to any of these different BTC charts and look at how much BTC cost versus the euro, and all those charts are going to be different. They'll be roughly the same trends, same peaks and valleys, but there are going to be a lot of areas where there are pretty substantial differences. On one exchange, some guy might be willing to sell Bitcoin, and he has 50 Bitcoin. He wants to sell them as fast as possible, so he does what's called a market order, where he just says, hey, I don't care what price I get, just sell them as fast as possible, and he goes to sell his 50 Bitcoin. On that one exchange, you're going to see a huge drop in the price of Bitcoin really quickly, because this one guy flooded the market with Bitcoin, and supply and demand tells us if there's a larger supply, there's not as much demand and the price drops. So you have that one exchange showing a quick drop on the chart, but that guy didn't do that on all exchanges, right? Only on that one exchange. So that's why it's important when you're trading that you're doing your analysis on the chart and the pairing and the exchange that you're actually trading. So don't use, in other words, the BTC USD chart on Bitfinex if you're trading BTC USD on Bitstamp. If you're using Bitstamp to buy and sell your Bitcoin, do a chart on the bits, do an analysis on the Bitstamp version of the chart. Hopefully that clarifies how markets work and why we have so many different charts available. You'll notice in my watch list, sometimes I'll have BTC USD, BTC USD, BTC USD, BTC USD. While I'm looking at these analyses for on the Binance exchange, I'm looking at the chart from the Bitfinex exchange, the Bitstamp exchange, and the Coinbase exchange. And you can see there's a lot more information here because that's where I do most of my analysis. So looking at the Bitstamp exchange, let's go over the basics of TradingView. This is showing you the price action. By default, it automatically uses candles. Right up here, you can see there's bars, candles. Heikinashi is kind of cool. I've used that before. And it looks differently on the screen. You can look at a line where it just shows the price just like a line. But the most informative, the one that's most useful for what we're doing at least in my experience, and I think a lot of people's experience, it's pretty common for this community to use candles, normal candles. It's certainly the most popular. So we're going to work based off of that. And in the future, when we get into more advanced videos, we can talk about some of the other options. So using candles, you can see every individual candle on here represents an hour. 60 for 60 minutes is the time frame. Up here it shows 1 hour. So we're on the BTC USD chart. This is the chart itself showing that this is Bitcoin US dollar on the Bitstamp exchange. Here's the time frame. Right now we're using the 1 hour chart. We can go to a 4 hour chart where every one of these individual candles shows 4 hours worth of trading. So using the hourly chart right here, this green candle, this big long green candle, if you look all the way at the top in this area up here, when I hover over it, it shows it opened at 85.80. The high was 87.43. The low was 85.81. The close was 87.06. So at the beginning of this hour, it opened, and that's the opening price. And then it went up a bunch, it went down a bunch. The highest it ever went was the high. The lowest it ever went was the low. And the close was where we are all the way at the end of that hour before the hour ends, and we start a new candle. So that's what the candles mean. And over time, you see patterns arise within them, and that's part of what we look for doing our analyses. But that's at a very basic level what you're seeing. You see the body of a candle and then the wick. Wick, the candle terminology. So the body of the candle is where a majority of that trading happens. That's where the open and the close is. So if you see a green candle, the bottom of the body and the top of the body are where it opened on the bottom and closed at the top. It closed higher than it opened. So on this candle, the price went up. It opened at X and it closed at X plus 10, a little higher. As a result, that candle is green. Now, if that candle opened at the price up here, if you see a candle that's red, that means it closed lower than when it opened. Those wicks at the top and the bottom represent the high and the low of that candle. So in this green candle, the high, which was 87.43, is at the tip of that wick, and then the place where this candle closed is the top of the body. The bottom of the body is where the candle opened, and the low is pretty much the exact same price, and that's why you don't see a wick at the bottom of that candle. It's just the green bar, just the body. All right, I don't want to get in too much detail on stuff like that, but I feel like that was important. Now that you understand what you're seeing on the screen, there are various things you can do with this. I'm going to leave these up for right now. But in order to understand what's going on and manipulate it and look at various types of data, you have to use different indicators that make sense of what's on the screen. Part of what we do is just draw lines. I might draw a line like this and say, all right, there's this line where we can't seem to break above it. And every time a candle goes up to this line, it gets rejected and comes back down. So that line is a trend line resistance. Again, these terms we're going to get into at a later date. For now, just understand how the software works. So I can use the drawing tools on the chart here. On the left side, this is for lines. If I hold it down, I can see other options. Then this, I can hold down and see all these options. This one is for text, but I can hold it down and see other options. This is just to draw lines with a brush. I could draw different shapes. So you have all these drawing tools so you can draw different things on the chart. But when you're not drawing stuff based only on the price action here, you can see the price action and make determinations based off of that. But to really deep dive into these analyses, you have to use these different indicators. So the indicators that I use, I'm not going to go into what all of the indicators are. I'm going to list the indicators that are part of my own model. So all of my charts have the same indicators. So I'm going to show you just adding those. And we're not going to dive into what they mean and how they're calculated. We're just going to talk about how we get them on the screen and read them. So one of them that I use is called the Ichimoku cloud. So I'm going to use the Ichimoku cloud. I'm going to click that. Now that's going to pop up here. Now Ichimoku cloud shows up as one of the indicators. The other indicator I use is the EMA, exponential moving average exponential. So I can click moving average exponential multiple times and have multiple instances of it appear, and then I can change the settings for each one. But since I use 3 of them, I'm going to do a shortcut. I'm going to use this 3 EMA one. And this 3 EMA indicator has 3 in 1, which is a lot better because what happens is with TradingView, with the free version, you're only allowed to use 1 or 2 indicators. With the paid version, you can use 3 or 8 or 12 or unlimited, whatever, depending on which level you subscribe to. I don't have the highest tier, but I do have one of the paid packages. I'm still limited on how many of these indicators I'm allowed to use. So by using the 3 EMA indicator, 3 EMAs are within one, as opposed to having the EMA, moving average exponential, and have that appear 3 times. So that's why it's really helpful. So I use Ichimoku, the 3 EMA, and then I use the RSI indicator and the stochastic indicator. And those appear down here, because instead of just being lines on the chart, they're actually their own individual graph down here. We'll dive into that stuff at a later date as well, but that's what you're seeing here. To add those, I would go to indicators and just type RSI, and then I hit relative strength index, and it would appear down here, but it's already there, so that's not going to be necessary. A lot of these other, I'm going to go over how different layouts work, but first, let me get the settings right. So if I go to settings here, for Ichimoku, these are the default settings under inputs that normally come with it. You can see on these other charts, 20, 60, 120, 30 are the settings I use for my Ichimoku indicator. So I'm going to go and add those into the first chart. 20, 60, 120, 30. Now I hit OK, and now I have the correct settings on my Ichimoku indicator on this chart as well. Same thing for the EMAs. My model, which I call Ichima, because it's based on the Ichimoku cloud, and 3 EMAs, so it's Ichima, because it uses EMAs and Ichimoku. For the 3 different EMAs, I'm going to set that to what I use, which is 55, the 99 EMA, and the 222 EMA. Now the colors I use for these, I don't remember exactly, let's see. So it's going to be yellow, blue, red. So let me make sure that's set up correctly. The 55 should be yellow. The 99 is blue. And then red. I don't like that this, is this blue more blue? Which is the right blue? That's the right blue. Okay. So now I have the colors correct. Okay. So now you can adjust each of these indicators like we just did, customize them with different colors, different settings. Those numbers mean something, but again, we don't have to go over it now, especially with Ichimoku because it's quite complicated. I'll go over the EMAs. Exponential moving average is just the same as a moving average, but it's weighted exponentially, meaning the more recent trading affects it more. We don't have to go into that too deeply, but just to know what those numbers mean. An exponential moving average, or let's just call it a moving average. It's moving because it moves around the screen, and it's an average of the past trading. So what this does is this says 55, it averages the last 55 candles. So these are each 1 hour candles. So the price, I think for the EMAs, it'll calculate it based on the closing price of every candle. So it's going to take the closing price where each of those hourly candles ended, 55 of them, and it's just going to do a regular average. And then it's going to do the same for the last 99 candles, and then the same for the last 222 candles. And that forms a line graph. So you can see over time, it goes up, and like in this case, we had a quick spike in the price of Bitcoin right here. So the 55 EMA, since it uses the last 55 candles and it weighs the more recent trading, it immediately started turning up and it curved upward. The 99 curves up a little slower because it uses 99 candles, so an average doesn't change as much. If you try to average together 10 numbers and then you change several of those numbers, you're going to see that the average of the 10 numbers is going to go up quickly. But if you have 100 numbers and you have an average of 100 numbers and you only change a few numbers out of the 100, there's not going to be a big difference in the average. It's barely going to move at all. And we're seeing that at play here. So that's what these different indicators mean on the screen. They're showing up right here on the chart. I can see my EMAs. The cloud is the red and green thing here. And using that data, I can ID certain valuable pieces of information that help me to model what I anticipate happening in the future. We'll get into that future date as well. What else? Let me see. I wanted to go over those. That's good. Let's talk about layouts, actually. That's an important thing to mention. And then we'll be able to call it quits on this video. So, layouts. Now, this is pretty important. When you're using TradingView, over here on the right side, there's alerts and there's watch lists. Watch list is where you're going to want to put in the coins you want to look at. I'll get back to the layout thing in a second. Let's just go over the watch list thing. So if I wasn't logged into my account on TradingView, and you definitely want to get your account and log in so you can save your charts, this would have been blank. So I would go to watch list and let's say, all right, I want to start with Bitcoin USD, and I trade on Coinbase when I buy my Bitcoin. Or you can say I trade on Binance when you're buying your Bitcoin. So if you select this top option, BTC USD from Coinbase, then it's going to show up in the list. Now, it's already in my list, so I didn't have to show you it showing up, but that's what would happen for you. It would then appear in an empty list. You would have it at the top. Then you'd be able to click on it whenever you want and see the Coinbase chart for Bitcoin versus $1. If you were to then type in, all right, XRP, Ripple, that's another coin I'm familiar with. So let's do XRP, BTC, because I want to use my BTC to buy some XRP on one of these exchanges, because a lot of exchanges have XRP with BTC, XRP with ETH, XRP with USD. I usually buy with USD, but if I happen to have an extra half a Bitcoin and I'm thinking, what can I buy with it? Hey, I'll get some Ripple. I might want to do an analysis of the XRP BTC chart on Binance to determine if I'm getting in at a good level or not. So you would do that, and then that would pop up at the bottom of the list underneath the first thing that you put in. So now you're going to have this populated with numerous coins that you're adding, and you're going to have a watch list that has only the coins you want to look at, so you don't have to go through every possible crypto. What you could also do is save the watch list. So you can go to save list as, you could rename it, export it, and that way you can have multiple watch lists. One of them might include the really crappy altcoins that aren't worth crap, but they might be good pump and dump coins. One of them might include just Bitcoin, Litecoin, BCH, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum. You can do whatever you want with it, but there is some flexibility there. Now you have a watch list where your stuff is listed. The next one down is alarms, and if you set an alert, like on here, if I set an alert by clicking the plus sign on the side here, where the price is at 81.10, I can add an alert for BTC USD at 81.10. When I do that, it's going to add a dotted line there, and it shows up in my alert list. That means if the price goes up and hits that line, I get an email and a text message and a bunch of notifications telling me it occurred, because I might want to say, if it hits up at this price, I'm going to be really confident that we're going to go up a lot. So if it hits that price, I'm going to want to buy a ton of it. I'm going to set an alert there, and then as soon as I get notified, I can jump on my computer and I can do that buy order. So that's another valuable asset I forgot about in TradingView that you should be familiar with, is setting alerts. All right, so that explains everything that's at least important over here. Let me go over layouts, and then I'll let you guys go. So a very common occurrence when you're first getting into TradingView, and this happened to me even after I was doing this for a job for quite a while, you lose charts, and I complained about it all the time. Hey, I spent 3 hours on my Bitcoin chart, and it just got wiped out and erased. TradingView sucks. Well, I don't know why TradingView never thought to notify me, hey, this is how you should do it, or put out some sort of announcement to advise people this is how they should be managing their charts, but it really is this simple. You have various layouts available. I have a paid account, so I can have multiple layouts. I think you can have 1 up to 3 maybe, if on a free account, but I'm not sure. You'll have to check. So the way that works is, if I have Bitcoin USD on the Bitstamp exchange, and this is the chart I'm working on, if I put a line on the screen going right here, and a line going here, and a line going here, and a text box right here with a whole bunch of text, and this is all important information, I want to use this analysis at a later date, so I want to save it. I have to save it to a layout. So what happens is, people would have these multiple tabs open, but they would all be using the same layout. So up here, this layout is called Majors, BTC, LTC, and it has a few of the major coins listed. Using this layout, I do all my work on Litecoin and Bitcoin and BCH, the real major top cryptocurrencies. So if I wanted to have on my screen a chart for Bitcoin, and then on another tab a chart for Link, and another tab a chart for TRX, what I would do is open multiple tabs. The problem is if you don't have multiple layouts, every one of those tabs is using the same one. So see how this layout is called Majors? What would happen if I did it that way? If I took the address here and pasted it in 3 different tabs, this window would be called Majors. This layout that I'm working on is called Majors. And this layout would also be called Majors. Now these are different for me, and that's the key. I'm going to get to that. If they're all the same Majors layout, and I make all these changes to the Bitcoin chart here, and then I go over here to the Link chart, and I make a bunch of changes to that, if I go up here and I hit the little cloud which saves it, or if I do the drop down and I click the save button, it's going to save this Link chart to my layout that we're working with. The problem is, it's not just saving the Link chart, it's saving the whole layout. So if I make all these changes to the link chart and I made all these changes to the BTC chart, and after I go and I saved the link chart, and then I go over here on this tab, and then I save my BTC chart, what just happened is it erased the link chart. This tab here, I'm working on the majors layout, and I'm working on the Bitcoin chart on this tab. On this tab over here, I'm working on a different coins chart, so when I saved the layout, it saved the link chart, but it didn't save the changes that I made to BTC, because the BTC changes didn't occur within this tab. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's pretty confusing. If I go back to this first tab, and then I were to save that, now it's going to save all the BTC chart stuff, but it's also going to save the link chart on this tab. Because now if I go to link on this tab, it's not going to include the information I put onto this tab. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. What would happen to me before is I would do that and I couldn't understand why I kept losing stuff. Well, now I know. On this one layout called majors, I do my BTC and LTC stuff. If I ever want to look at BTC and Litecoin LTC at the same time with two different tabs, I can't have the majors layout open on two tabs. So I would have this tab is using the majors layout, and then just temporarily I would have to do a new Litecoin chart. So I would go to manage chart layouts, and I could make a copy of this one. I could do a new chart layout. So if you do that and you set up multiples, in this case you can see I have a bunch of different chart layouts, but out of the date saved there's only 4. These are the ones that I've recently saved today. All the other ones I haven't even looked at in weeks or months. So I could delete this one, right? I can get rid of that altogether. I can go here and go to new chart layout, and the new chart layout starts as being called unnamed 1, but I can go here and rename it. Rename new layout for new coins, whatever. You name it whatever you want. Now this layout is completely new. It has the default background color and everything. I have to go in and configure it like I like my settings on this one. But if you do that a few times and now you have 3 or 4 different layouts, you can work on different charts. Each tab that's open has to be a different one of your layouts, and then you can save when you're all done for the night. You can go to save this one, save this one, save this one, and now all of your layouts are saved with all of the charts on those layouts, and you will not lose anything. So that's how the layouts work on TradingView. That is a very, very key feature that I didn't understand earlier on, and I lost a lot of work as a result. It was very frustrating. I wish somebody explained that to me sooner. But that's pretty much it. You can play around with this a little bit. You can drag up and down on the prices to make it get taller or shorter. You can drag the date down here to make it get tighter with time or spread out more. And all of that changes how it appears visually so you can better manage and understand what you're seeing on the screen. And that's that. That really is all there is to it. Is there anything else that we should go over? Right now, I don't want to go over this because I have other videos dedicated to it, but I'll show you down below. If I pull up this menu down here, it's minimized now, but I can pull it up like this. There are a bunch of different options. Trading panel allows you to connect to different exchanges and do trading directly, where I can go here and I can click buy BTC at this price, and it would set an order, and it would send the order to my Poloniex exchange for me, but I don't use that option. Paper trading, I have a video on this, and I'll repost that in this in the Discord channel for Vader University. Paper trading gives you $100,000 of play money, and you could do trades using that pretend money, and that allows you to practice different strategies and modeling techniques, and that was incredibly valuable when I was learning. I lost a lot of money in the market, and then I took the money I had left out, and I said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to be an amazing trader. And I spent 12 to 16 hours every single day for a month, studying my ass off, practicing, researching until I became really good. And during that time, I was using paper trading. When I was able to make profits every day paper trading, I decided I was ready, and it was time to bring my own capital, my real money back in, and then I made a lot of money in a short period of time. So it's very helpful to use paper trading when you're practicing so you don't take additional losses as you're trying to learn, because you've already lost a lot. You need to learn how to trade before you go to make that money back again. And then everything else down here aren't really things that I use, but you can play around with them. You could do Pine scripts, which allow you to automate certain processes. You can write notes like this one, which apparently just says, fuck, 10Ks, sorry about that. And Stock Screener, you could do this and add cryptos here too, where you can stay up to date on various assets that you're tracking. It gives you buy and sell indicators based on the most popular indicators that are used, but that's not something I would suggest doing. I would not trade based off of that. All right, that is that. There's also layers down here on the bottom left, and you can set up different layers where it shows all of your drawings, and then you can manage them, and you can add different ones to different layers. That's a lot more advanced, and I don't even really use that feature, but it might be something that you want to play around with, and if you choose to, go for it. Here you can manage alerts again up top. I could set an alert when BTC is crossing a certain price, when BTC enters into a certain range. There's various things you can set. A lot of that is more complicated, and I haven't even messed around with them too much. But if you need help, if you're in the group, if you're in the premium group, just DM me and I'll go over it with you. We could do a live stream, and I can show you how to do it. Yeah, that's it. All right, I think that's the gist of it. That pretty much covers the basics. Hopefully, everybody understands what we just went over. But if you didn't, if you're in the group and you have some questions, just let me know in the Vader University class discussion channel. You can post any questions there, and we can discuss this video and all the other ones. If you're not in the group and you'd like to get some more help understanding this stuff, one option is to send me a DM that I'll ignore. The other option is to join the group and work with me, because I really like to build a community. I want to expand, and I want to get more people in there who really need to learn this stuff. Because when I started, if I had somebody with my experience that was there to teach me, I could have saved myself a shit ton of money, because I lost an awful lot of money. I've since made it back, but I could have made it back a lot faster if I had somebody to mentor me and guide my education. Anyway, that's that. I think we went over a good amount of the basic stuff. But again, any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help if I have the time. I even get back to people who aren't in the group. I was joking. If you're not in the group, you could always DM me. I might not respond as quickly, but most likely I'll get back to you pretty fast. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you for the next one.